Welcome to the 2021 Catcher Preview on the Fantasy Baseball Show. I will be kicking off the positional previews on the catcher position. I think it's an important position to get an idea on. I think it's important to get positional aspects on your team because you don't want to go into the draft room thinking, just looking at that board they give you on Yahoo or CBS, that default board. You really want to have, I would say, 3 guys at every position that you like. But more than that, I think you need 1 guy or 2 guys post pick 200 at every single position. That is really how you master fantasy draft. Maybe you honestly need 3 guys post pick 200 they like on every position. Obviously, starting pitcher is different. That's a hard position. But when we get to starting pitchers, I will show you guys, even at post pick 200, post pick 250, that you can take, 3 or 4 pitchers you can have confidence in with upside. I'm saying that because I will be getting into the rankings, but about the first 8 catchers will probably be drafted before pick 200. So me personally, I don't think I'll even be drafting these guys, and yet I'm ranking them high. And that's where there's a difference between where I rank a guy and how likely I am to draft a guy. And I want to bring that up a lot in all these videos because I have Real Muto first, Will Smith second, Perez third. Out of all those guys, I'm probably least likely to get Salvador Perez. That's more of an age thing. Real Muto I'd love to get, but the price tag is just very steep. I like Real Muto way more in a 15-teamer than a 12-teamer because I think he just stands out that much more. With catcher more than any other position, it is about playing time. And I would say catcher is different than every other position because the team context matters so much. You have a guy like Joey Bart. I'll illustrate a great example. I would love coming in. I wanted to be big on Joey Bart coming into this video. I wanted to have Joey Bart high. Then I started doing my rankings, and I ended up having Joey Bart right in front of Buster Posey. And I was thinking, why is that? And it didn't take long to realize it's because Buster Posey's still in the league. Imagine if Joey Bart was on the New York Mets right now. He would be my at least top 10 catcher. But he's on the Giants. He's playing with a most likely Hall of Fame catcher in Buster Posey, who's a great leader, works great with pitchers, great hitter for average. So team context means so much at the catcher position. Like I said, if Joey Bart was on the Mets, he would be getting 400 plate appearances coming to this season. He's probably projected for about 300. I would say him and Posey are probably going to split it. Joey Bart might get more, but hey, Posey might get more plate appearances than Joey Bart this year. And if there's even a chance that Buster Posey is getting more plate appearances than Joey Bart this season, then I don't know how you can draft Joey Bart on your fantasy team, and certainly in a 12-teamer, but even a 15-teamer, when there's guys available who will get more plate appearances. And, you need the runs, RBIs, home runs. You can't, and Joey Bart's not going to save you in the batting average department. You need guys playing their positions, getting playing time. So just right off the bat, I want to get that in there. Really pay attention to the team context. You need to be, if you want to be a great fantasy baseball player, which I'm sure anyone watching this video aspires to be a great fantasy baseball player. They probably have a passion for it. They probably have it. It's a great hobby. It's a fun hobby. I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir on this one, but you really need to keep in mind where free agents are signing, what teams have guys on the cusp of a call-up, because that will really affect the catcher position. Unlike outfield or middle infield or corner infield, there's only one catcher that can play every day. You might have a great third baseman. He can either play third base every day, play first base every day, or DH every day. He has 3 avenues to playing time. An outfielder has 3 or 4 avenues to playing time, with the DH now being in the NL. A second baseman or a shortstop. A second baseman, you might say, okay, we can DH him or we can put him at third base. I think this really highlights that you're not going to have a catching prospect to DH. You might have a great second baseman coming up, and maybe he can't play a shortstop, but if his hit tool's there, they'll let him DH. You're not going to have your catcher DHing, therefore he's not going to get the plate appearances. Maybe Joey Bart is DHing a little bit this year, maybe, but they have Brandon Belt there too. They have guys there that can DH. So keep that in mind. When you have a catcher coming up, teams are not going to want to put him at the DH. I mean, look at the Yankees with Gary Sanchez. Now they can't even do it now, and their hands being forced. They have too many DH profile players with Stan and guys like Clint Frazier and Luke Voigt, where Sanchez might be the odd man out. So pay attention to that situation. If the Yankees sign James McCann or JT Realmuto or Yadier Molina, then Sanchez gets pushed down, I would say, for me, 10 spots. I have Sanchez ranked right now 15th, so maybe 5 spots. If the Yankees sign any catcher at all, I'm pushing Sanchez down to 20th. He would go behind guys like Andrew Knapp, Jorge Alfaro, Ryan Jeffers, Pedro Severino, and Joey Bart. Because the difference between Joey Bart and Gary Sanchez is Joey Bart's defense is better than Gary Sanchez. That alone will get him more playing time. So keep that in mind. Obviously, the thing everyone's wondering right now, everyone wants to know, where is JT Realmuto signing? I'll tell you this. Wherever he signs, he's going to be playing almost every single day. JT will DH sometimes, no matter where he signs. JT is the unanimous number one at his position. I think it is the easiest position when it comes to deciding on number one. It was JT. I didn't even hesitate. Not only does it looks like he has 30 home run pop now. He's going to steal you 10 bags in a season, maybe a little less now that he's getting a little older, but 10 bags at the catch position, 30 home run pop, decent average. The average was a little down last year, and the strikeouts were a little up. A little concerning. I'm a little concerned by that. I don't know if he was trying to boost his power numbers in a contract year or what. A little concerned by that, but you cannot deny JT is the number one catcher in baseball. Behind him, I don't think this is unpopular either, is Will Smith of the Dodgers. Something I found kind of curious of Will Smith, though, that turned me off to him from someone I'm going to draft, is looking at the Steamer projections. They don't really seem, it doesn't seem like Will Smith's going to be getting that many plate appearances. There's other guys lower on the list who will be getting similar plate appearances that if they're going 150 picks later, you may want to check some of those guys out. Obviously, I don't think they're going to be as good as Will Smith. He looks like he has great pop from the catcher position. But if he's not going to be accumulating those games, those runs, those RBIs, those home runs, it's hard to get it. I mean, Will Smith, if he played 160 games, would probably hit 40 home runs. But he's probably going to play more like 115 games. And that really hurts his value. Salvador Perez, something crazy about Salvador Perez, 2% walk rate last year. He had an amazing year, 160 weighted runs career plus. That means he was an absolute great hitter. But 2% walk rate scares me. That does not leave a lot of room for a floor. If pitchers attack him a little differently, I could really see him bottoming out. He is getting older. Age does scare me with that. But if Salvador Perez, if you have faith in Salvador Perez that he's not aging, then you definitely want to target him because he will be getting 150 games if he could stay healthy. 150 games. He'll be like Realmuto. He might, play more games than Realmuto if he has a clean bill of health. But keep that in mind. With Salvador Perez, I personally am a little skeptical with the low walk rate and how he's getting older. I know he was never known to have a high walk rate, but 2%, I don't think I've seen any fantasy relevant player with a 2% walk rate. I will try to find comps in a later video of that, but that is very, very low from a walk rate, and that does not leave a floor for a guy. If he starts striking out, there's no on-base percentage to fall back on. So Sean Murphy, right after Salvador Perez, again, I was surprised. Steamer had his plate appearances at about 404. They had other guys like Andrew Knapp a little higher. Andrew Knapp, I'm going to kind of bring him up a couple times because with JT leaving the Phillies, like I said, team context, it's not just about what teams are signing guys, but what free agents are there. So James McCann leaving the White Sox really boosts Yasmani Grandal's value. JT leaving the Phillies really boosts Andrew Knapp's value. Andrew Knapp, let me just look at his Fangraphs page real quick. In 89 plate appearances in 2020, he had a 17% walk rate and a 21% K rate. In his rookie season in 56 games, he had a 368 on base with only 3 home runs, but a 257 average. 360 on base is very respectable. That dropped down to 294 the next year and 10 more at-bats. He had 50 less at-bats the next year in 2019. On base went up to 318. But this year, 2020, and 89 at-bats, Andrew Knapp had a 404 on base, 17% walk rate, and 21% strikeout rate. Career low strikeout rate and career high walk rate for the 29-year-old catcher, Andrew Knapp. Definitely a guy you want to take a look at. Philly is a great ballpark. I don't know if anyone's ever been there. Very small ballpark. Feels the air really flows through it. I could see Andrew Knapp getting 20, 25 home runs. With that on base percentage, with the skills he has, that could be a fantasy relevant catcher at a really good price in Andrew Knapp. Another guy I want to take a look at is Dalton Varsho, 24 years old for the Diamondbacks. He struggled in his rookie campaign last year, 28% strikeout rate, 10% walk rate. Now that strikeout rate was 10% higher, more than 10% higher than any strikeout rate he had in the minors. That walk rate, though, was 1% higher than his career high of 9.3%. But just to take a look at some of Varsho's numbers, in low A, he had a 14% strikeout rate. In high A, he had a 20% strikeout rate. In double A, Varsho had a 9.3% walk rate and a 14% strikeout rate, 378 on base percentage, but get this, 21 steals and 452 at-bats. 85 runs, 58 RBIs, and 18 home runs. We're talking about a 2020 at the catcher position. Dalton Varsho might not be a catcher in 2022, but he does maintain eligibility for 2021, and for that, I think Varsho is my top target at the catcher position in 2021. He's not my highest ranked catcher, but he will be my most drafted catcher. I think I like about Dalton Varsho from a fantasy perspective as opposed to other catchers is because he will be playing outfield, but he maintains catcher eligibility. That doesn't matter in fantasy. So, just because he's playing the outfield, I could still plug him in my catcher spot. That is amazing. That means he might get 500 plate appearances, maybe 550 plate appearances. Play some outfield, play some catcher, move him around. I am very interested to see Dalton Varsho on the Diamondbacks this year. I heard another guy I want to talk about is Alejandro Kirk. I think he was on the Toolshed podcast with Chris Welsh. I think they mentioned him. I didn't really hear too much about him until I heard them mention him. In 25 plate appearances, I know that's nothing, but he had a 400 on base, 375 average, only a 16% K rate, only a 4% walk rate though. But I wanted to look at his Fangraphs page. Very, very interesting profile. Honestly, behind Varsho, Kirk will be my second highest drafted as long as JT doesn't go to the Blue Jays. If you guys don't understand the importance of a plate discipline really makes sure a guy has a high floor. Kirk, 13% walk rate and 9% strikeout rate in 2018. 2019 in A-ball, 19% walk rate and an 8% strikeout rate. I've never seen anything that extreme. That's only 96 at-bats, but that was good for a 299 average and a 427 on base. And in high A in 2019, he had a 14% walk rate and an 11% strikeout rate. He had 4 home runs in 276 plate appearances. So I'll be honest, the pop with Kirk, it's not really there too much, but the average 288, he's not going to hurt you in average. He's not one of those guys that doesn't hit for average and only walks. The average is right up there with the on-base percentage, but he's not as interesting as Dalton Varsho. He doesn't have as much pop as Dalton Varsho, and he doesn't steal the bases that Varsho steals. So definitely take a look at Varsho and Kirk. Besides that, it really thins out quick. I'll list my rankings from 10 to 20 straight through. Kirk, Molina, Grandal, Varsho, Vasquez, Sanchez, Knapp, Alfaro, Jeffers, Severino, Bart, Posey. Jeffers is really just there because I'm not really sure who's going to be getting the at-bats for the Twins. Whoever is the main guy for the Twins, I'll probably take that spot, but I'm not really exactly sure how the playing time is going to shake up in Minnesota. But another guy I want to zone in on is Christian Vasquez. That is a guy who should be tremendous value. Again, I didn't believe his breakout in 2019. I thought it was a little suspect. But, he's done it 2 years in a row now. You can't deny that. The power is legit for the catcher position. Definitely want to look at Christian Vasquez. Just showing you that you don't really need to spend on money. You don't need to spend draft capital on a guy like Sean Murphy, Contreras, d'Arnaud, because you're taking a risk there. You're taking a risk that the at-bats don't play out. You're taking a risk of injury. You're taking a risk of regression. Contreras didn't have the best year. That could continue. d'Arnaud had a career year. That could regress. Sean Murphy, the home runs there, the power's there, but that average is a little suspect. He's not going to be able to be a 280 hitter. So once you get past that top 7, those guys are all going in the top 200. I would really zone in on guys like McCann, Nola, Varshao, Vasquez, Knapp. And besides that, I think if you wait past Varshao and Knapp and Alfaro, you're playing a very dangerous game. I would say, you'd have to get a Bart, a Posey, or a Francisco Mejia. And I don't like doing that game because you're really hurting yourself in the runs, RBIs, home runs department. You cannot have a catcher only getting 300 plate appearances. Two catcher leagues, I hate those personally. They're stressful. I know a lot of leagues now are two catcher leagues. I play in one. I kind of think it's a little ridiculous. Personally, I know that's not popular because a lot of people seem to love the two catcher leagues. I don't get that. If you play in a 15-teamer with a two catcher league, that's every catcher in the MLB. That's every starting catcher in the MLB is accounted for. That's basically like playing in a 30-teamer league. And from the catcher position, that's just so hard. You really need to capitalize on guys on really good teams with good platoon splits. You're better off really in a two-catcher league. Okay, I'll say this. In a two-catcher league, I would draft Joey Bart and Buster Posey. Give me both those guys. Give me Bart and Posey. I can wait to pick 250, 300 probably. I don't got to spend anything. Because do you really want to spend too much in a two-catcher league? As long as you're getting guys that are, Posey and Bart are the only guys in the Giants that are going to be catching next year. So I would target guys like that, or Chance Sisco and Pedro Severino for the Orioles. I would target tandems in a two-catcher league. Me personally, if I didn't want to spend the high draft capital. Obviously, if you get one of those top 10 guys, then you can get one of those other guys like Varshao or Vasquez or Sanchez or Knapp. Gary Sanchez, though, I'm a little worried about. I'm a little worried about. The Yankees seem to be losing faith in him. So I would kind of, for those in the New York area, WFAN loves talking about Sanchez. They love talking about how he can't catch. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets shipped out. That being said, I think maybe him getting shipped out would be the best thing for him from a fantasy perspective, because I think this stuff's gone into his head too much. I think he could really use a change of scenery, maybe use a new approach from a new hitting coach. So Sanchez, for me, if he does go to another team, I'd probably move him up a couple spots. I'd probably move him up just around Grandal. I'd move up ahead of Varshao. But standing right now, I have Vasquez and Varshao in front of Sanchez. I would say catcher is the opposite of outfield. One of my favorite strategies is to wait, pick 150, maybe pick 125, and then take the bulk of my outfielders there, because there's depth there. There's solid guys. You just take some, you take the guys that kind of people sleep on. Maybe they don't get the steals. The Brandon Nimmos, the Nick Senzels. Last year, like the Jesse Winkers, guys like that. You can't really do that at catcher. And it kind of comes down to, I compare it to relievers too, in the way that there's a run on the position. There's never a run on outfielders. There's never a run on positions quite like there are for relievers and catchers and also starting pitchers. But there's a run on positions. If you're in pick 200 and you see someone take Christian Vasquez, I bet you then 2 out of the next 10 picks will be catchers, because people know, there's probably 4 guys sitting there thinking, I'm going to take Christian Vasquez. Once he goes, those guys do not want to miss out. So you really have to be careful of that, because if you're not prepared, you will end up drafting a guy you did not want. You'll end up drafting Jorge Alfaro when you're waiting for Christian Vasquez. So instead of Alfaro, who I liked a lot coming into last year, but it looks like he just can't figure it out. The strikeout rate is way too high for my liking, but I like him. He's a hustler. He gets some steals, and he's going to accumulate playing time. But, get a Knapp. I would be hesitant to suggest Bart or Posey over Alfaro, though. But keep that in mind in your draft room. Keep that in mind with the run-on catchers. Really, also, I guess another point that I don't hear talked about enough, something that I know I personally do a lot in draft rooms obsessively, and catcher position for more than any other position, is I'll constantly cycle through every team's roster and see what positions they have filled, and I always want to see how many teams have their catchers filled. If there's a 12-teamer and we're in pick 200 and there's 3 catchers still on the board that I like, and already 10 teams already have their catchers picked, I'm not stressing it. I'll wait another 2 rounds, 3 rounds to draft my catcher, because no one is drafting 2 catchers. No one is drafting 2 catchers in a 12-teamer in a single catcher league. No one. So that is a very important draft strategy, is use the tools on the platform to view other teams, view what spots they have filled and what spots they do not have filled to get a prediction of where you can draft guys. I think that's a good tip. I think that's something you should really keep in mind when drafts come up. Draft season's probably about 2-3 months away. Not really till February, March to really get into it. But keep that in mind. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, subscribe. We are now on iTunes at The Fantasy Baseball Show, YouTube, The Fantasy Baseball Show, Instagram, The Fantasy Baseball Show. Twitter's the only one that's different. It is Fantasy Base Show. Give us a follow, like, subscribe, send it to your buddies that like fantasy baseball. I mean, you don't want to send to the guys in your leagues, obviously, but every retweet, everything helps. Support the show. Please comment. I love talking to you guys. If anyone's interested in doing some leagues, I always like getting a league invite. I just joined a 30-teamer. Fantasy Baseball Commissioner on Twitter was doing a league, 30-team Dynasty Fantasy League. I'm very excited for that. If anyone got any tips for that, I would appreciate it. It's going to be a huge player pool, about 2,000 players total. Very interested to see how that plays out. Maybe I'll do a video on my thought on that after the draft happens. But if anyone wants to do a league or anything like that, if you have any questions, advice, or anything, I'm not the biggest prospect guy, but hit me up on Instagram or Twitter. Links in the description. Have a good one, guys.